Hello, everyone. Ross, the music teacher, here today, and I'd like to answer a question that I've gotten from a lot of people for a long time, and I haven't really been super comfortable to answer it yet until now. And I still, as I answer this, I want to really iterate the fact that this is what I'm doing for myself to move myself in a certain direction in terms of learning music further. And this by no means is the advice of a complete lifetime master of music. This is just what is working for me, but I wanted to share it because, again, a lot of people have been asking me this question, and it is a very good question, although it's a very broad question too, and that is, how do you sit down and write a piece of music? And I can imagine there's a lot of people that felt like me when they first started trying to do this. And when I'm talking about when I first started trying to do this was many, 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 many years ago. And that's when you sit down to write a piece of music and you just completely feel lost. Sometimes that still happens. It's like, well, what am I going to do? And I want to offer kind of my favorite remedy. This isn't what I've used every time, but I use this when I sit down and I just don't feel anything, or I wish I would have used this when I tried my first song. And I also use this when I want to further like what I'm able to do. So this answer hinges on one extremely important fact that everybody, the sooner you realize this, the better off you are as a musician. You learn by listening to other people that have been doing this a long time. And I don't mean necessarily their advice, but their music. You learn by listening to their music, and you learn by maybe getting the score, or I guess if you're a tab person, the tabs for something, and you learn to play it, and you pull it apart, and you kind of learn the structure of it. Now, this technique will work for basically anything in terms of like if you're trying to write, rock and roll for a band, or if you're trying to write orchestral music, or if you're trying to do solo classical guitar music. What you need to do is you need to pick something that really inspires you. You need to listen to it very, very, very closely, maybe 10, 15 times in a row all the way through, and try and actually say out loud what is going on to the best of your understanding. Something that I find extremely helpful, and I'm actually going to showcase one of my recent pieces of music I've written that I feel really kind of pushed my abilities. So wait till the end for that. But something that I find very helpful is also to get the score. So one thing that happened to me in the recent past is that I just kind of realized like the John Williams' music and like the original Star Wars, really, I just always loved that as a kid. So it would be really neat to be able to write like an orchestra piece like John Williams. And I think I got pretty close, and I'm going to show you my piece at the end. I'm also just going to link to the recording, or not the recording, but the MIDI mock-up that I made of it if you want to listen to it by itself. But the way that I did this is I actually ordered the conductor's score for, I believe it was Star Wars Episode 7 Suite, one of the newer ones, because I really liked the music from the newer ones. I didn't love the movies, but I did like the music. And I sat there and I listened to it and followed along maybe 10 or 15 times. And then I stepped back and I asked myself, okay, what's going on here in the beginning? And then I kind of made a structure for myself to work within, and really used his form to write a piece that was my piece. And the piece that ended up being written sounds definitely a lot like John Williams, which made me very happy because I wanted to learn how he did that. Now, that's not going to be the type of music that I write typically. I feel like I have something else that I want to say, but it really, really pushed my musical ability. So let's say you're a classical guitarist and you want to write a fingerstyle guitar piece. Well, find that piece that really sits with you. Order the sheet music. Look through the sheet music. Understand the chords. Understand the form. And use that to make something of your own. And what you'll find is as you go through people's music and you do an analysis of lots of people's music, maybe in the same area, you'll see that a lot of people, that is exactly what they do. A lot of writing music is based off of listening to other people's music and then allowing it to inspire you, allowing it to show you the way in some sense, and writing your own thing. Now, you do not want to do this every time, right? There's a certain point where you just want to write something that is just you, and that's important to do. But something else that is just so incredibly important is just being able to look at something and do your best to emulate and learn. And that will start to give you not only the knowledge of how to start writing music, but in the direction that you want to do it. Because me, as a teacher, when somebody asks me in the comment section of YouTube, how do I write my own music? It's like, well, who are you? What do you want to write? There's so many different kinds of music that you just can't answer that question necessarily in one way, but you can understand that, all right, my first step is listening. I don't mean just sitting back and listening. I mean the musician's way of listening, where you're actually grappling with the material with your mind and your ear, and perhaps getting the score or the tab, or maybe somebody did a piano reduction, or whatever you can do to find those chords and kind of do a harmonic analysis and see how the melody interacts with the harmony and really kind of extract that and allow it to sink in. So without further ado, I'm going to show you the piece that I wrote that is very, very, very heavily inspired by John Williams. And I'll also link the original stuff down below, and you'll see that there are quite a few similarities. However, the actual music itself is not the same. So enjoy the listen, guys. I hope this helps you get started on writing music. And I will see you next week for a live stream.